Growing up, it's ingrained in us that sports is about having fun and staying physically active. We often neglect the inherent risks that are associated with the game, no matter what level of sport you're competing in. I'm Joel Foreman, and I'll be taking you on a deep dive through concussions in sports by speaking with individuals whose lives have been directly impacted by them. The Inherent Risk Podcast is presented by HeadsupCAN, a nonprofit organization that aims to challenge the stigma surrounding concussion. On this week's episode, we speak with Enrico Ciccone. Enrico is a former NHL defenseman and current member of the National Assembly of Quebec. Known for being an intimidating fighter in his career, Ciccone played 374 NHL games for the Minnesota North Stars, Washington Capitals, Tampa Bay Lightning, Chicago Blackhawks, Carolina Hurricanes, Vancouver Canucks, and the Montreal Canadiens. He currently deals with issues related to concussions he suffered during his career and is using his platform as a politician to create awareness on the risk of repeated head trauma, including working to ban fighting from all levels of youth hockey in Quebec.
Yeah, so just kind of want to get into it from the beginning. How have concussions kind of affected your life, both on and off the ice?
Well, as of today, I got to be really honest that everything seems fine. But, I think that the biggest problem for me right now, it's probably I always worry. It's more psychological because I always worry every day when I wake up. When I forget something very easy, short-term memory lost.
Yeah.
I always wonder, is it the time that I'm gonna start to get those side effects? Because as you know, and you probably know that a lot of the teammates I had in my hockey career, which as of today in the early 50s suffers early Alzheimer's, have committed suicide. They have dizziness, speech problems. So those are the things that constantly lives within me. I'll cross my fingers that hopefully I will never go as bad as my friends and all the teammates, but this is something that always is in my mind every morning when I get up.
Absolutely. And do you think that your perception on concussions has changed kind of from when you were playing as opposed to now longer down the road as you're dealing with it?
Well, you know what? 100% has changed because, first of all, you have to understand that back then when I played in my era, what's shameful is that even as today, the NHL doesn't recognize the full effect of concussion. Maybe that's because they're getting sued right now. They want to be careful, but back in our days, I've had around 6 or 7 concussion in my career, but it was never diagnosed. If you go back into my medical file, every team that I played, when I was knocked out or I was punched in the face during a fight or getting hit hard and I was dizzy and the light was too loud and the sound was unbearable, well, that was never diagnosed with a concussion, which I never missed a shift.
Right.
Also, so you stayed on the bench and even if I was dizzy a little bit or had a hard time sleeping at night, showing up to practice and, the light was still bright and, I had no patience, but I never said anything. Because, I wasn't an all-star player. I wanted to keep my spot on the team. And, this is the way we taught back then because we were raised as warriors, as tough guys with character. And that's what teams and coaches, organization wanted. So showing a sign of weakness wasn't well perceived, in my days. Even maybe not as much today, but if you went through a depression or you went through something that made you sad, you couldn't talk about it because it was a manly game and you couldn't say anything and you had to show character. So of course, things I perceive things differently today. With all we know with the scientific reports, medical reports, with CTE, it's been proven now. So, of course, I see it differently, and that's why that last April I deposited a bill at the Parliament, Bill 196. I invite you to read it if you haven't read it already. So,
I have, yeah.
So I deposited a bill, so maybe we'll talk about it later. But for me, it was very important with the position I have today to try to do something.
And you have that
try to convince the government. Yeah.
You have that unique perspective where you've played the game, and you also have the platform that you have, which is why it's so great.
Exactly, but on the other end, you have to. I fight with the ones that have the old mentality, which they say, well, we got to keep fighting on the ice, and we have to keep the physical, the physical play of hockey, which I understand, but still they kind of put aside the side effects of playing the game of hockey, which is the fastest game on earth, which is limited by boards.
Yeah.
If you think that the body can take so much, the body can take so much. So I got to live with the fact also with the people saying, well, you're an hypocrite. You're an hypocrite now because you've made a career out of it. You fought. You made money out of playing hockey in the NHL, a lot of money, and now you want to ban fighting, or you want to, so that's, I gotta, but that I don't care. I don't care because I know that I'm doing something right. And I know I'm doing this for the next generation because if people in my position don't do anything, which normally we shouldn't have to legislate. We shouldn't have to legislate for that. It should come directly from the industry itself, but obviously it doesn't.
And it's a challenge, yeah. I mean, it's something as simple as you're right, it's your brain, and you should have to think that it should be very easy to protect, but it's kind of hard. You mentioned the idea of the fact that you wanted to keep your spot on the team. I was looking a little bit through your profile. I saw some of the guys you fought, Dave Brown, Ty Domi, the Grim Reaper, Stu Grimson. Was there ever a time where you kind of challenged your role as a fighter
Say that again, excuse me, I didn't understand.
Was there ever a time where you kind of questioned your role to stay in the league at the time?
You know what? I never did because it was, the reason I was fighting, and it varies from player to player. For me, I never loved fighting.
Right.
I never loved fighting, but sure enough, I had a talent at it. I was a big guy, I was a tall guy, and but the thing I never accepted is that, if you put me on the ice again today and you see, I see somebody abuse one of my teammates, a smaller guy, or in society, that's a job I do right now. We don't fight anymore. I don't hit people anymore. Right. But I kind of defend the weaker person, the person who can't speak for itself. So this is what I was doing in the NHL. I used to protect the smaller guys, and in the NHL, I never had a coach that told me, Chico, you have to go fight. Never, because they knew it was within me. It was a part of myself, and I used to do it on my own because I couldn't accept it to see somebody taking advantage of one of our star player or a smaller player or so on and so forth. But as of today, I got to be really honest. If it was in the guideline of the sport, well, you gotta use whatever you can to make it to protect the weaker ones. But as today, I think that we could abolish fighting. We could abolish pretty much a violent situation by working before it happens. With the new reform of the referees, to work differently, to see how it comes, to make the coaches a little bit more, responsible for who they put on the ice in certain times, but it has to change. The mentality has to change, but it's tough here in Canada to change a tradition which has been here for more than 100 years.
Absolutely. No, that's a great answer. What do you think the biggest difference in locker room talk surrounding concussions is from when you were playing as opposed to how it is now?
Well, actually, concussion-wise, we never really talked about it back then. We sometimes call, I got sting. It was a stinger. I just lost it for a second. And I could recall every fight that I had, which I got, that hit where I lost my consciousness for a second. And sometimes I go back and I see videos, and I know exactly. I said, that time I was out,
Right.
and I came back to it. I had a knee on the ice, and I came back to it and started fighting again. So we never really talked about it. And then we never used really much that word concussion. It's just I got dizzy, or I got stung, or life goes on. It's a part of the game. We're warriors. That's the way we were programmed. You never miss a game because you're hurting somewhere. If you're hurt, you can play. If you're injured, well, you might be able to skip a game. That's the way we were programmed, and today it's thinking about it as a 50-year-old. I said it's barbaric. The way they used to treat us.
Absolutely.
We're the ones feeling it now every morning when we get up. It takes me about 20 minutes to be back to normal. Talking about my joints, my shoulders, my hips. Because it was I don't regret anything. Don't get me wrong, but let me tell you something. It's we're the ones feeling it. We were numbers when we played in the NHL. I say numbers because when the machine is done, well, you change the machine and out you go.
Yep. In one and out the other door. Absolutely.
That's the way it is.
Yeah, and you mentioned right off the top the idea of some of your former teammates and players kind of struggling with things. So what do you think really is the biggest issue that athletes face right upon retiring?
Well, first of all, when because there's an old context. There's the old injuries, of course, that will come and haunt you in the future. But that's the part of the game that we all accept. We all accept coming in that we know that we're not going to have a normal life after a career. It's not going to be like a normal human being. We retire around 30, 32, 33 years old, 35 for some, and we're down. I mean, we are we're down. It's tough for us. For me, when I remember when I got my son, when he was 2 years old, I was 30 years old back then, and I couldn't get up on my hands and knees for him to walk on my back because I couldn't lay my knees on the hard floor. It was painful. So we accept that situation about being hurt, but the concussion it's kind of new. That the concussion part live with the situation about overly medicated also.
Yeah.
We have to think about that, which is not really the subject we're talking about today, but it's an ensemble of many, the physical, the mental, the medication that we took that we overtook, and also the change of in our social life, our family wise also, because we have to consider that also, because we live a life when we play in the NHL or any pro sports that it's not a normal life. We kind of live on a cloud with it's not the reality. And when we get pretty much everybody gets thrown out of the game. Not many players retire from themselves. The good players do,
right?
But the players like me, they throw us out of the game, and then we have to go back to society as a normal person, and now it's a different way to see things. The relationship with your wife, the way she saw you before, the way you saw your wife. We have to refine our identity that we lose when you're a hockey player, because when you play, you're number 39 or you're number 12, and you're a star. But after that, you get your name back. Your wife gets your name back because she's back in Canada.
Right.
Now she takes her own maiden name. So it's very difficult also. So you have to deal with all of that when you're retired, and some of the couple explodes because they can't handle that all at the same time.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you mentioned the idea that who your identity is. One of my hobbies is reading hockey books, and I've read a lot of stories where it's that same sentiment. The idea of once you retire, you've been through hockey your whole life, and it's who am I? What am I doing with myself?
Exactly, because you know what, a lot of a lot of the players, me, I came through the NHL, through the Canadian system, the Quebec system,
Yep.
which takes us away a lot from the school, compared to the American players where their system, they go through college, they most of them graduate, they have a degree, they have something when they retire. But us, they take us away from the school system very quickly. So around 18, 19 years old, you're out of the school.
You're gone, yeah.
No degrees. I don't know what the province you come from, but
I'm in Ontario.
Ontario,
yeah.
So we don't have the same schooling system. But here, between the high school and university, we have the CJEP. And, most of us don't even finish the CJEP.
Right.
We don't, those 2 years, we don't even finish that. And as of today, I haven't finished my CJEP, which hasn't kept me from being elected and doing a good job at the National Assembly. I got to say that. But still, it's something that I don't like, that this is something that I tried to improve for the last 20 years as a person who worked in the hockey development, who tried to change things in school, in the hockey, in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League also. So when we retire, us as a hockey player here, especially here in Canada, well, that's the only thing we know. For all our lives, that's all we know.
Absolutely.
Playing hockey, being specialists in hockey. Don't get me wrong, we have doctorates in hockey, but we don't get paid for that when we're done. So who's going to hire us for having a doctorate in hockey because we played in the best league in the world? So that plays against us when we're trying to find ourselves being useful in society. So it's very, very hard. I had to work hard when I retired to try to find myself and try to be useful, because that's what I need to do, and that's why I ran public office, because I felt like I needed to give back something. I needed that to get going.
Yeah, and on that topic of public office, so I noticed there seems to be with hockey and politics, it seems to go hand in hand. Got guys like Ken Dryden, Red Kelly, Frank Mahovlich. Did any of those foreign players have an influence on you going into politics?
Well, you know what? Actually, that always impressed me. I can always say I was politicized. Like, I had an opinion on politics pretty much all of my life. But, I never thought that I would make that jump, because I know that it's a very, very tough road, and everybody knows me as the big tough guy. But I'm very sensible. I cry easily. I'm not sure to say it. I'm not afraid to say it.
No, you shouldn't be afraid to say it. Absolutely not.
I know that politics is very, very hard on the individual. They sometimes there's no filter, and it's a lot of low blows, and I didn't know that I wanted to live that in my life. But after a while, the public service, how I felt, it was bigger than that. I said, you know what? I'm gonna regret it the rest of my life, because when I was 33 years old, it started to. I got approached by pretty much every party on the federal and the provincial side when I was about 33 years old, 3 years after my retirement, and they kept coming back, Enrico, because they saw me, what I did in society, what I did, my positions I took on education and violence in hockey, and putting a doping program here in Quebec in the Q, putting pressure on the league. So they saw what I accomplished. So of course, that opened some eyes to some parties that they wanted that kind of person in their party. So, but me, I thought I was too young back then. I said, you know what, I need more to get mature. I need more patience. I'm still like the feisty guy, but when you're in politics, you got to be feisty. But on the other hand, you can't lose control. And I thought when I was younger, it took me more time to get more, to be more, how you say that?
Restrained?
Well, yeah, restrained, and more patience.
Yeah.
Because in hockey, I was programmed that you have a conflict, in 30 seconds, it's over. You're done.
Yeah.
But in politics, it might take a month, years old. I said, you know what, this is the time now. They came back again. I said, no, it's the time now. And I saw some things that needed to be changed because if you look at we all have specialty. Some are lawyers, some are doctors. So they get elected. But for me, my specialty is sports and healthy living and leisures. So I came to try to change, make it different in those areas because I saw that the safety in sports, the act of safety in sports hasn't been changed since 2007. And I couldn't conceive that in 13 years, or back then it was like 11 years, 12 years, that they didn't even change a comma in the law. And the sports is changing, constantly is changing, and getting guys are getting bigger, faster, and I was appalled that things weren't changing that law. So I said, you know what, this will be impacting. That's why within 2 years I deposited 2 bills already in 2 years. So that's the change I'm trying to do.
Yeah, no, again, that's where the education needs to start, is from the minor hockey. So I think it's so excellent that you do that.
Thanks to Enrico for taking the time out of his busy schedule to speak with us. Please leave us a rating on the podcast and let us know in the comment section your favorite part of the interview.